Nigerians are still absorbing the news of the passing of former President Muhammadu Buhari, GCFR. He died in London over the weekend. On the show today, we'll be evaluating his economic legacy. Did his administration's policy stimulate economic growth, reduce poverty, and promote sustainable development, or did they exacerbate the country's economic challenges? To do justice and assist us with this conversation, we have Dr. Samson Simon. He is the chief economist, ARKK Economics Data Limited. Great to have you in.
Thank you for having me.
All right. Looking at the two stretches of time in which former President Muhammadu Buhari stood at the helm of affairs in Nigeria, we know that he inherited an economy that was, on its knees. Both tenures, he was saddled with the responsibility of, arresting a declining economy and, refocusing on recovery. So how well would you say he did 1984 for the 20 months and 2015 when it comes to economic recovery?
Well, when General Muhammadu Buhari served as military head of state, the 20 months from 1st of January 1984 until when he was toppled by Babangida in August 1985, some of the reasons for coming on board was because the military top brass felt the Shagari regime or government was not doing enough as far as the economy at that time was concerned. Sadly, they didn't do any better. They brought austerity measures, and the economy didn't fare any better. Even some of the things he did as a civilian head of state or president straight out of the books he used when he was military general, for example, the redesign of the Naira, the border closure. And sadly, these are not really economic policies that normally work. I don't know why he insisted on them. Maybe because of his mindset about corruption, about austerity, about discipline, and so on. But they are not really effective economic policies if you really want to deliver on the dividends of governance, such as ensuring better lives and livelihoods for people that you're ruling.
Let's pick up the Naira redesign policy. We know the disaster it was, in his second stint as president, right? But as military head of state, there are those who say that that policy back then helped to revitalize the banking sector because a lot of the monies then was being kept in mattresses or being taken to other West African countries. And by redesigning the Naira, he was able to bring that cash back into the system. What are your thoughts on, and maybe from the success of that, he thought it would work again, not so long ago?
Well, normally it's a mixed bag. I know the intentions might be noble, but we look at the results. If you look at what happened when he was military head of state, and even what happened just before the last general elections, he seemed to think that this might be noble, this might be the right thing to do, particularly when it comes to corruption. But we know that our numbers for corruption have largely remained the same, if not gotten worse. So that's to tell you that they're not really effective in ensuring transparency, in tackling corruption, that there are better tools to deploy instead of that. The pains that these policies made Nigerians go through, I don't think the pains are worth the benefits that, whatever benefits that might have accrued from this policy. I don't think it was one of his brightest moments. If you ask for my honest opinion, he might have done well in certain aspects of the economy, like infrastructure. If you look at the Abuja-Kaduna rail, he didn't start it yet, but he finished it, and it became useful for Nigerians. The light rail in Abuja here, and so many other, even the Lagos-Ibadan railway and the one between Itape and Warri, he has done relatively well when it comes to infrastructure. But I don't think the banking, the Naira, the design policy, was really his best moment, in my honest opinion.
All right, so maybe not the second time around. Let's also come to his intervention with the states. We know that 33 out of 36 states were, according to the budget, were unable to, meet their obligations to workers, which affected state economies when he came into office. But he staged several interventions, right? And he also got the CBN to also intervene. What is your assessment of, CBN's intervention? And we know the controversy around ways of means, but get into that with us as part of Buhari's economic legacies.
Well, I think it was commendable of him to intervene when virtually all the states could keep up with the payment of salaries. I think on that particular account, he did well, he acted exceptionally well. That's one of the good things about his leadership. But the sad thing about that is that for the central bank intervention, I think they went overboard, they overstepped their bounds, and they abused that. And that really contributed to the economic mess that we're experiencing up to today. And well, nobody is saying that Buhari inherited a perfect economy. No president in Nigeria inherited a perfect economy. But the least Nigerians expect of you is to at least make things better than you met it. So, sadly, he didn't do well because he really abused our ways and means. Somebody said it was even beyond abuse, but even be categorized as criminal because it was explicitly against the law. And they just did it with gear abandon. That's really sad. And that exacerbated the cost of living crisis, that impoverished Nigerians, that did terrible things to the economy and even to the central bank. That was not really the right thing to do. And I don't think anybody will commend him for abusing that. But in terms of helping the states, I think all the interventions he did, I think those particular aspects are commendable of him.
And again, as we tie things together, I'd like to get perhaps the positives, the highlights of his administration. And also, there are some who say that the odds weren't necessarily in his favor. Inheriting an ailing economy just when it was about to get better in 2017. COVID came, and then he had the Russia-Ukraine crisis on his hand. How well do you think he handled those situations, which of course crippled many economies across the world?
Well, for COVID, we know it was a global thing. In terms of interventions, I think the Buhari government didn't do badly. And even before COVID, they embarked on so many social welfare programs, even creating a ministry around it. I think on that particular account, his legacy will be enduring, and a lot of people will try to build on that and make the ministry even better in terms of delivering and catering to the needs of the most vulnerable in the Nigerian society. The school feeding program is also very noble because it would help with the education of the less privileged in society. But if you look at the Russian-Ukraine war, it should have been the best time during his regime because the price of oil climbed to levels that had not been seen in many years. Sadly, in that particular year, particularly in 2022, our production for the first time in a very long while went below 1 million barrels. And we, from being the number one producer, we were even talking about being number 4, even number 5. So for oil production, I think he should have done better. He should have handled the Niger Delta security better than he did. And that would have really helped him in terms of oil output. And he would have reaped the benefit of high crude oil production in Nigeria. Sadly, he didn't do well about the insecurity in the Niger Delta. And then even the PIA, I think that was also one good thing that he did. He helped pass the PIA. And that's really noble. Sadly, the implementation of the bill became a problem. But I think he's basically generally a mixed bag. He did some good things, and he did some things that are not really good. And up to today, some of us are bearing the brunt of it.
Indeed. I guess it's a a mix, a bit of both, but we do celebrate the legacies that he did leave behind. And of course, there's also the Electricity Act that apparently he laid the foundation for that as well. But thank you, Dr. Samson Simon, Chief Economist, ARKK Economics and Data Limited. A pleasure getting your perspective on the conversation.